Good evening and welcome to tonight's episode of On the Mark with Mark Hamade right here on Salina's True Rock Station 95.5 The Rock. I'm Morgan Lillick. I'm your host, joined as always by Mark Hamade, the COO of PKM Steel in Salina. Mark, how's the night treating you?
Great. Fantastic.
Well, we're happy to have you back in, Mark, as always, and we've got a great discussion for you guys tonight. We are talking about involvement, what involvement means to your success, not only at work, but in civic organizations around your community, how you can get involved and how that will help make your everyday life that much more fruitful just by getting involved with the opportunities that are presented to you on a day-to-day basis. And Mark, let's kick things off right now. Define involvement as it relates to the workplace, in your opinion.
Involvement to me is being part of something. It's a basic stuff. It's not what I call a paradigm shifter, not earth-shattering. It's not unique, but it's really being part of it. But to me, involvement is really having a piece of the action. For example, not just being on the football field, it's actually doing something. So involvement to me, I would say, takes action, movement.
And I couldn't agree with you more there. And involvement seems like a simple concept. Oh, yeah, sure, I got to get involved. But it's a lot more complex than that when you really break it down. How do you get involved? What ways to get involved are really beneficial to you, and what ways are just wasting your time? Mark, what is so important about being involved at the workplace?
The more involved you are, the more you know. I cross-train people. Sometimes I talk to them about different things, even when it's not up to their department. It's important. The more you know about something, the more you're able to help, the more you're able to appreciate other people's job, and the more you're going to appreciate what you do.
Couldn't agree with you more there as well. I mean, it invests you. Not only, you're invested at work, you're going in, you're getting your paycheck, of course, and you're going through your day-to-day, but being involved at more opportunities at the workplace really gets you in with the workplace that you're at. Whatever your job is, when you have an opportunity to get involved, you need to seize that opportunity.
Morgan, if the people who were on the Titanic were part of the building process and were more involved in how that ship was built and so forth,
everyone wouldn't have been standing around with their thumbs stuck somewhere when the ship went down.
Yes.
Any chance you have to learn more about the way your company works, you've got to take advantage of those opportunities. Mark, what can lower-level employees do to become more involved with the inner workings of a company and its upper management? And importantly, how can they do it without stepping on anyone's toes? And is that even possible? And should they care?
Yes, they should care. It's asking the right questions, right? It's asking questions. Go find your manager. Go find your COO and tell them, you want to know a little bit more about this so you can understand more, so you can help more. That is one of the most critical things to me, Morgan, is you have to ask the right questions.
If employees aren't asking those right questions, or put it this way, if employees aren't even asking the questions, then how is a supervisor, how is your boss supposed to know that you are that invested in the company, that you're looking to grow within the company and move up? Nobody's a mind reader. So it's not like your boss is going to be able to sit there and know that you really care about the company if you don't do anything to show the initiative. You have to take the initiative, grab the bull by the horns, talk to the people that are in the know to learn more. It's really that simple in getting involved with the way your company works. Now, Mark, I'm going to flip this on its head for a second. What can upper-level personnel do to get more involved with their employees? And as COO of PKM Steel, what do you do to make lower-level employees feel more involved with their workplace?
Well, I've called meetings, all company meetings. I explain to them my thoughts. I explain to them what I'm doing. I seek them out at times. I try to meet all the people. Do I do a good enough job? Probably not, and probably people will say that. People are always going to rave and give positive reviews when they're happy. But my door's always open. So if you don't seek me out, well, is that my fault? Is it your fault? At the end of the day, for me, I'm always willing to take criticism and blame, and I always feel like, if you don't feel good, then I didn't do my job the way I needed to. That's the reality. So you have to seek people out and get them to be comfortable to come to you and speak.
And keep in mind that the vast majority of any workplace you could go at, whether it's on the production side, the industry side, the retail side, whether it's an organization, a nonprofit, most places you go, the farther up you get on the chain, the higher up your boss is, the more they've got on their plate to deal with. So you've got to understand that why somebody like in Mark's position as the CEO of PKM Steel would love to go around to each and every individual at that workplace, have a, how's your day going? What can we do to make things better for you? There's just not enough hours in the day. So you really need to take that initiative, go to your supervisors, go to your upper management personnel, and ask them, hey, what can I do to get more involved here? What can I do to learn more and be a better employee? That kind of initiative is always respected if you are at a good workplace and will get you far going forward. If your boss knows that you care that much about your place of employment, that you really want to know how things work in all different facets, they're going to know you're a candidate for upper management and that you are looking to move above and beyond your position in life. Those people that are really looking to step up and move forward are the people that seize those job opportunities and take them, while the ones that are waiting back by the wayside and waiting for people to come to them are the ones that fall behind. Mark, let's move on here. Team building strategies have often proven successful over individual efforts. It's the old two heads are better than one concept. What kind of benefits can companies expect to garner by having employees get involved as teams and working together?
Well, it gets them to really have ownership, build trust, have a good relationship with each other. If you like each other, you'll work with each other. If you don't like each other, can you work with each other? Yes, but it makes it much easier if you like each other.
And at least it gives you an opportunity. Say that you don't like each other. There's a couple people on your team that just butt heads. This is a situation you're going to come across in most jobs that you work any place. Whether you're the manager, whether you're an employee, you're going to have people in the workplace, maybe you're one of them, that butts heads with somebody. Nonetheless, work still has to get done. The job, the task at hand still needs accomplished. You sometimes have to go above and you have to step over a personal beef you might have with somebody to take care of the bigger picture issue, which is accomplishing things throughout your organization and being able to work with people that you don't always get along with. But I completely agree with you, Mark. It does make it a little bit easier if you get along with the people on your teams. And that is a great lesson for those in management positions when you're assigning team building exercises, when you're assigning things that need to be done by multiple people. Try to group people together. Know your personnel. Know who works well together, who doesn't work well together, and try to avoid those scenarios altogether. Mark, what kind of conflicts have you faced at different points throughout your career? Give us an example of a time where you had to put together a team and you knew you had people on that team that weren't going to mesh. What did you try to do to make the situation as smooth as possible so that everyone could work together despite their individual preferences and disagreements?
Well, I've been at places where people were looking to not follow through in what I wanted and just wanted to argue, felt I wasn't going to last or whatever. You try to build trust, you try to work with them, you do the best you can to get them to be in the right seat on the right bus, and you continue to do that. And I don't ever hold grudges with people. I feel that's one of the most important things is you can take it, you can get frustrated, you can get angry, but you got to be able not to hold the grudge, because at the end of the day, that person has been employed there for a reason, and hopefully it's for a good reason, and you got to try to get the best out of them. And eventually, if they don't buy in, you get to a point where you got to fire them.
Unfortunately, that's just the way it works sometimes. You need to be able to buy into your company's philosophy. If you're a one-man band, a renegade on your own, it might feel good to say, I've got this personal freedom and I'm doing what I want. But if you're not fitting the best interest of the company that you're employed by or that you work for, or say you're a manager for a major corporation and you're doing things a little bit differently, it's okay to go outside of the box, but it's not okay to go against the wishes of the people that are cutting your checks every day. You got to keep that in mind. It's okay to show initiative, but at the same token, it is not okay to just do things your own way with disregard for the way things need to be done within the structure of whatever organization or company you're trying to accomplish for. Now, Mark, involvement definitely is one of these topics that extends far beyond the workplace. It extends into many civic organizations, into the community at large, into your everyday life. And how can getting involved in civic organizations, in charities, in school fundraisers, events like this, what can that do to lead to greater success within the workplace?
You learn from other board members. You learn from other leaders. You help them help you. You get that commitment from each other. You bounce ideas off each other. I think that is critical.
and it also gives you a great opportunity to network. You're going to meet a lot of different people in many civic organizations that are volunteering their time, their energy within the community. You might not have had a chance to rub elbows with some of the people that you really need to through your workplace, but if you get involved, maybe they're a member of the civic organization, maybe say they're a member of a charity that you feel fondly about. Well, now it turns out you've got something great in common with somebody you've been wanting to work with. There's your icebreaker and your foot in the door, and you can utilize that within your workplace to really expand your business and expand your contacts. Mark, our last question here before we go to break. What are some good habits for people out there, both manager position and employee level positions alike, to develop for people who want to become more involved?
Well, I think first, find your true passion. What do you love? For example, I like kids. That's something I feel like the kids are our future. So I got involved with Salina Tech because it's a great school. It's got a great president. So find your passion first. Then from that, pick an organization that could use your help and skill set, and make sure the president or the board or whoever is a good one. There are some bad ones. There are some that don't want to be the best, don't want to perform. That's not something you want to be part of. That's a way to start.
Great stuff, Mark. We spent a lot of time here in this segment talking about how to get involved at work. We will transfer that over after the break to how to get involved and the benefits of getting involved in civic organizations. We'll have Diane Miller on. Diane is a board member for the Abilene Chamber of Commerce. She's coming up right after this on the Mark with Mark Hamade right here on 95.5 The Rock. Welcome back to On the Mark with Mark Hamade on Salina's Rock Station 95.5 The Rock. Our program brought to you by some very valued sponsors. We'd like to take this opportunity to thank Hassman Termite and Pest Control, providing 50 years of quality service from the Hassman family. By the Reardon Clinic of Wichita. Our doctors listen, find out more. Give Reardon Clinic a call at 800-447-7276. By PKM Steel, and by Salina Iron and Metal, serving you from the same location for more than 100 years. Now in studio, we have today's guest. It is Diane Miller. Diane is a board member for the Abilene Chamber of Commerce in Abilene, Kansas. Diane, welcome to the program.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Well, we're very happy to have you on today. Tell our listeners a little bit about yourself.
I am a member of a family that owns a small business in Abilene. It's M&M Tire and Auto, and I work there with my husband, taking care of the finances and the advertising. He has skills that I don't have, and I have skills that he doesn't have, and so we work pretty good together as a team.
So you definitely understand the value of team concept and being involved in that team play that we talked about here in our first segment.
Right.
Well, that is fantastic. And Diane, we are very happy to have you on the show. At this point, I think I'm going to turn it over to Mark. Mark's got a few great questions to continue our topic about involvement, and I look forward to hearing what you guys have to say.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Morgan. I think Diane is a very interesting person because she works in a family business. She's a board member for Abilene. She's worked for the government. She's done different things. So multicultural, multi-talented, and a well-rounded person. So I'll let Diane tell the listeners a little bit about what she's done other than just a family business, what she's doing at the Abilene board, and what she has done for the city.
Thank you. I currently am on the Mid-America Tire Dealers Association Board of Directors, just come back from our annual convention in Wichita, and I'm also on the board of the Abilene Area Chamber of Commerce. Formerly, I served as a city commissioner for 8 years, and as part of that, 2 terms as mayor. So that was a great experience. I really learned a lot. I'm glad that I did it, and I would encourage anyone to give that a try because the learning experience is not something you're going to get anywhere else. I also serve as a secretary for the Dickinson County Republican Women's Organization. And I feel like those organizations are all important for communities, and that if you're going to be part of an organization, you need to participate and become involved.
Thank you, Diane. I totally agree. The one thing I'll say also is different people do different things. Some people get involved to help community. Some people do it for personal gain. People do it for all different reasons. Serving the community is critical and important, especially in a small community, in a small town. So, Diane, tell the listeners why you really do it.
For all the reasons that you just said, I believe that a business or a community or any organization is only as good as those who belong, working together for the greater good. I tended to get involved in things based on where we were in our life. As a parent, I was always involved with the schools when my children were going through them and served on the site council also on a budget reduction team at one time. I was also involved in the summer athletic activities that my children participated in. I was coaching or keeping score, however I could help out. So to me, this was just a part of parenting, but I really enjoyed being involved, and I guess my children knew that because my daughter at one point, when she started school, volunteered me to play the organ for our church, and I'm still doing that today.
That's awesome, Diane. And with involvement, to me, it's almost like being connected to being part of something. Tell the listeners, what does involvement mean to you?
It means supporting your organizations, the ones that you belong to by selection or by default. Like you said, Mark, we all have different strengths, and I think that's what makes a community go. We all have something to give, so being a supportive partner really reaps dividends for both the individual and the organization.
Absolutely, and I agree. And the one thing I've always said, and I'll always say, is be involved, but don't overload, because whatever you're involved in, you want to do a great job in it, and you want to be the best that you can. And so a lot of times I turn a lot of stuff away, because if I'm not going to be able to dedicate the time and the talent into it, then I don't want to be part of that, because it's a reflection on me also and on the board. So I always say choose wisely and give it the extra effort. If you're doing 100 things and you're telling me you're doing them all great, I'm going to have to call bull on that. It's not accurate. I have a lot of people that I can tell don't want me to be part of their board because they feel I'm going to push the board to do more. And you should. And in any organization, you should push that envelope. You know, one thing I'll ask Diane is, why is that so dear to your heart?
Probably because of the way I was raised. My grandfather, with a formal 6th grade education, served in the South Dakota Senate and House of Representatives. He was the wisest man I know. He was very honest, and he had a lot of common sense, and he taught me a lot. My parents were both active in the church, and my dad served on the school board for many years. So I believe that I live in a community that has a lot of volunteers and volunteer organizations that help make it a very special place.
I'll say this. The reason why involvement is dear to my heart is because you're affecting people. You're affecting the community. You're benefiting somebody else other than just yourself. And it's fine to get the awards, and it's fine to get the kudos, and it's fine for everybody to get their ego or their confidence and all of that taken care of. But satisfaction is when you're able to help others. And that is the best part for me on that. What is one example, Diane, that you feel because of using involvement you were able to succeed and the board or whatever you did at that point succeeded also?
I guess maybe the best example is having served on the city commission, because I now have a much better understanding of local government issues as well as state issues. I met a lot of people in that capacity. Many of them became my friends, so I'm very comfortable now in contacting those people that are at the local or state level representing our constituents, and I can express my thoughts to them and feel like they will listen and do what is best for the community. I also feel like I have the ability to make better decisions when I have all the facts and can understand what the consequences are from different aspects.
The one thing that you had mentioned earlier is that you feel sometimes spread pretty thin. And I think that's very, very critical. I think with the amount of experience and tenure and what you've done, you're able to gauge yourself well. But for somebody who's new, going into a board or doing something like that, you've got to be pretty careful. You got to just serve one or two and really do a great job before adding other things. Because if you fill your plate with too many things, it's going to be a bad reflection. And I'd like you to just touch on that a little bit about how to pick and choose.
I think you need to do something that's very important to you and also important to the community. That was the biggest reason that I said yes when they asked me to serve on the chamber board, because I think the success of the businesses in the community is really important to all the businesses. There shouldn't be a what's in it for me type of attitude. It's what's best for the entire community. And I think if your business and the next business to you and the next one all succeed, that makes it better for the whole community.
Absolutely. And I always say also, one community can help another community, and then it helps all. My last question for Diane is, how can people improve on this?
People need to get involved. They can't sit back and expect everybody else or somebody else to do it all the time. And people need to accept responsibility. I think that's the biggest drawback that we have in our country today, aside from our debt load, is the lack of responsibility for oneself and the entitlement mentality that has pervaded our nation. We need to once again become a nation of self-sufficient, respectful people. It's like the old saying goes, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. And I think that's where we are today.
Absolutely. And I'll add this. One of the hardest things you do in a kitchen really is baking. Okay, or dessert. And I always say to bake a good cake, you have to take your time and do it right. And it's the same thing. When you bake a cake, you've really earned it. And it tastes good when you eat it. And it takes time. And the same thing with work. You've got to work hard to earn it. And what I think is fascinating is there's a lot of people that want control and leadership, yet they don't want the responsibility. They just want the control. If you want the control, you've got to be able to accept the responsibility when it goes bad to be able to fix it, not just during the good time.
Well, guys, this has been a great discussion. Diane, we really appreciate you taking the time to come in today, share some knowledge with our listeners about your experiences in getting involved. We hope that that translates to our listeners out there. They can really go the extra mile to get involved. Take that personal responsibility you mentioned in getting involved. Get involved in your communities, your workplace. There's lots of different places out there that you could really make your impact felt. We encourage you to definitely do that. It's a great mode to finding success in all areas of your life. Diane, thanks again for coming in.
You're welcome. Thank you.
When we return from the break, we will delve into our social media mailbox segment. This is On the Mark with Mark Hamade on 95.5 The Rock. Welcome back to On the Mark on 95.5 The Rock, brought to you by Salina Iron and Metal, serving you from the same location for more than 100 years. By PKM Steel. The Reardon Clinic, experts in nutritional medicine, finding answers and not covering up symptoms. Learn more at reardonclinic.org. And by Hassman Termite and Pest Control, providing 50 years of quality service from the Hassman family in Salina. Now, Mark, we've had some great discussions from our social media questions here in the past, and this question that we have from our social media mailbox should fit in perfectly. It's by Becky Lyles of Salina, and Becky writes in, "It seems today people are busy in many aspects of their lives with running a home, managing your work, marriage, and raising children that you end up running thin on time to volunteer. Mark, what are some tips to managing your time that you can utilize to be more involved in the community and helping others while still being able to balance that busy everyday life schedule?"
Well, Morgan and Becky, I'm going to be a little bit long-winded, but I'm going to have to because that's a very interesting question.
It's all right.
And it's dear on my heart. We have planners, we have cell phones, we have iPhones, we have iPads. And you know what? We still ask the question, with this knowledge and gadget, why do I still can't find everything that I need to do get done? And the answer is simple. Everything you've ever learned about managing time is a complete waste of time because it doesn't work. Before you even begin to manage time, you must learn what time is. Okay? The dictionary defines time as the point or period at which things occur. Put simply, time is when stuff happens. The good news is there's ways to improve. Do a schedule is what I say. Record your thoughts and conversations. I do that on a daily basis. Take the first 30 minutes of every day to plan your day. That's something you can start right away. Then take 5 minutes before every call and task to decide what the result you want to do. That way, you're not overspending and wasting time on that. And then put a do not disturb sign when you absolutely have to get certain things done. When I'm at work, I do not answer the phone. I am just completely working on what I need to get work done, and then I will check my messages and I'll let my assistant schedule time. I don't like to get interrupted unless it's an emergency and I have to. Remember, it's impossible to get everything done. 20% of your thoughts, conversation, and activities produce 80% of your results. So you just need to fine-tune it. So the first thing, Becky, you need to do is every day in the morning for 30 minutes, decide what you're going to do this day, and take 5 minutes before each thing on how fast you can get that accomplished. I always say, okay, I'm going to be in the bathroom. Am I going to take 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or 2? The faster I get done, the faster I do something else. When I call you, Morgan, I make sure I'm going to spend 3 minutes or 5. If I spend 15, I cut up from something else. So you've got to be diligent, and you got to do that every day and write down what you did that day and what you wanted to accomplish. And then if you don't accomplish it that day, you got to accomplish it the next day.
It really comes down to having a plan and trying to execute that plan, something that we've talked about here on the Mark. And when the plan varies from what you originally had, you do have to make those adjustments. Some things will get cut out of the loop. And I'll add this. If you're looking to find time to volunteer, but you're having problems balancing your day-to-day life, well, you know what? The day-to-day life is always busy. I can definitely relate. I have 2 11-year-old daughters. I've got a baby on the way. I commute daily to work. Plus, I wear a number of different hats here at Rockingham Radio in Salina. So I'm always managing to balance my time, juggle that, and it's difficult to do, but you have to go with a plan, and you have to have that to begin.
And Morgan, I would also say I live by real live, real time, not clock time. The reason why time gadgets and systems don't work in that these systems are designed to manage clock time. Clock time is irrelevant. We live in real time. The good news is that real time is mental. It exists between your ears. You create it. Anything you create, you can manage. It's time to remove all the self-limitation you have around you. These are the ways that you can really manage time and be able to do what you want to do.
Exactly. And that leads perfectly into where I was going with that, Mark. Basically, you know what? You've managed to find time to do all the things, juggle all the different things you've been looking to do, Becky. You've been raising your children. You've been working on your marriage. You're managing at work. You're running your home. And you've still found ways to get this done. Why? Because time is mental. You can find a way to volunteer. You might think to yourself, oh gosh, how do I have the time? I don't know how I have it. Do it. Get out there. Find that organization that really speaks to your heart, that you're passionate about. Volunteer with them, and the time will create itself. I know it sounds crazy, but you get out there and you do it. You'll be able to adjust your plan accordingly. You'll find time to fit it. You won't know how, but it will happen.
And Becky, you are going to be pulled in different directions. That I know. While you cannot eliminate interruptions, you do get a say on how much time you will spend on them and how much time you will spend on the thoughts, conversations, and actions that lead you to success. You cannot get rid of all interruptions, but you can limit them.
Well, Becky, I hope we've been able to help you out here a little bit. Ways that you can find time to get involved and manage your time a little bit better, to be able to take those opportunities to volunteer in the community, help out, do the part, do the things you're passionate about, and yet still be able to manage your home and your family and your marriage and your work. I know it's a lot to do, but as human beings, we are all very busy people. The ones that find the most time to do the most things are the ones that do realize that time is mental. Well, Mark, hey, great discussion tonight. Happy to have you in the studios here again. Guys, if you want to learn more about what Mark's up to and different information, different strategies, keys to success he's got for you, follow along on Mark's blog. It's www.markhamade.com. That's Mark Hamade, HAMADE.com. This has been On the Mark with Mark Hamade right here on 95.5 The Rock. We'll be back next week with Susan Hawksworth from the Smoky Hill Museum talking about the benefits of being genuine right here on 95.5 The Rock. Have a great evening.